Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's William Bellamy, and yes, it is election day. And I actually started my day off going to vote. The surprising part was normally you go to vote, I've never waited for more than 10 or 15 minutes in and out. This morning, I was there when the polls opened at 6 o'clock, and I ended up having to wait for an hour. And they were moving people through. It wasn't that they were going slow, it's that there were that many people voting, which made me happy. I don't care who they vote for. I care about people getting out to vote. I think it's a disgrace that barely 50% of our country votes in presidential elections as it is. So a record turnout would be great. And like I said, I don't care who you vote for. I'm an independent. Who you vote for is your business as long as you vote and you take part in our democracy. Now, I am a veteran, a father. Politically, I'm an independent. The purpose of this channel is to talk about politics and economics, criminal justice reform, veterans issues. And one topic that's kind of off of that is human trafficking. But we will go into that. And somebody who I will give you a link to posted some pretty powerful videos about that on her channel. Grew up in North Korea, escaped at 13 years old. And just please, I implore you to listen to her story and listen to the interview she did with Patrick Bet-Davis, because she made decisions at 13 years old to save her family and sacrifice herself in the process that most of us could not make as grown adults. So, like I said, just go to Miss Park's channel and see what she has to say about human trafficking and conditions in North Korea and what happens when North Koreans escape even in China. Now, with that, we'll go back to voting. And one of the cool things I saw when I got to the polling site was I saw a couple different families where the husband or the wife, one would sit in the car with the kids and the other one would go in and vote, and then they'd swap. And I talked to one of them because we were walking out together, maintaining social distancing, of course, and masks are mandatory in Columbia, Missouri. But he said the reason they did it that way, they wanted their kids to understand how important it was to vote. And I thought that was so cool because I was taught the same thing growing up. And I feel I've taught it to my kids on how important it is, and that's how we have our voice. It's not in burning down cities. The true way as an American that you voice your opinion is at the poll. You go to your polling site and you vote. Every 2 years, there's an election. You can vote out anybody you want. You can vote in anybody you want. Even if you feel your party has no chance to win, you still place your vote because you know when you look in the mirror that you did the right thing. That's how our system's supposed to work. Now, as far as this election, 4 years ago, I thought it was about as divisive as we could get in politics in this country. Well, I've been proven wrong. And you see that from both sides. It's not one or the other. They both, in some cases, move so far to the edge that you really have to wonder if they're ever going to come back to the middle and agree on anything. The budget, the annual budget's a prime example. When was the last time we actually had an approved budget on time? And that's on both houses of Congress, not one or the other. And even when one party controlled both houses, they still couldn't come up with a budget. I just find that a disgrace because in your job, if you don't do your job, you get fired. You get a few warnings and then you get fired. And yet people vote these same representatives and senators back in that aren't doing the jobs they were elected to do in the first place. So if we vote them all out, yes, you get people with no experience. But could that be any worse than what we have now? Like I said, I don't care who you vote for, just vote. Now, I would tell you now, my goal would be to vote all the incumbents out. They get 12 years. If they can't accomplish it in 12 years, they're not going to accomplish it. But that's not for me to say. Now, there are many people saying, regardless of who wins the election, the violence in major cities will start over again. I really hope that's not the case. What I would really enjoy seeing is, once the numbers are in, whether it is tonight, next week, or next month, The two candidates on a stage shake hands. Yep, it was a good hard fight. You won. You're going to be the president of the United States, because I think that would go far in unifying our country. But it's not going to happen. It's asking for too much. And I think that's a shame, and it's a sad statement about politicians, that they can't come together to try to unify our country. Because if they can't do it, who else is going to do it? You have places like Florida where the National Guard's already been placed on alert just in case to assist police if there's violence. That is not the country that our founding fathers created. That is not what the Constitution is there for. This violence is accomplishing nothing. What happened to civility? What happened to people's feelings on 9/12/2001 when we came together as a country? We're not going to talk about the war part in Afghanistan, whether you like it or not. I'm not going to get into that. What I'm saying is the feeling in our country at that moment, when we came together, when we grieved for the families that died in the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon. What happened to that? Because in all reality, we keep getting farther and farther apart when what we should be doing is drawing closer together. The violence we're seeing in our streets is not going to accomplish anything. And the sad part is, I think regardless of who gets elected, it's going to continue, if not get worse. Now, what can we do? You can keep your family safe. That's all you can do. You can educate yourself. You can hope upon hope. And if you're the type of person that does, pray that it calms down. And you can educate your children. You can teach the next generation, hey, here's the mistakes we made. That's what parents do. They admit their mistakes. You teach your children the mistakes you made. I made a lot of them. Hey, I made a lot of mistakes along the way as a teenager and as an adult. And I've tried to use those as lessons for my children so that they don't make the same mistakes. By doing that, we'll raise a generation that maybe can bring back the unity, the civility. Because for some reason, we can't do it now. You can't even have a debate politically with somebody who's on the opposite end of the spectrum without it devolving to Orange Man bad or Doddering Joe. And that's not what it's supposed to be about. Civil debate is where our society came from. Once we get back to that, it'll be a much better place. Now, as I said before, this is a new channel, so the best thing you can do to help me out is like, subscribe, and share, and throw some comments on there, and we'll talk. If you have ideas for other shows, let me know. Throw the ideas on there. If you don't like what I have to say, then dislike and tell me in the comments what you don't like. We can have a civil debate. We can talk about what it is. I'm not closed-minded. You may change my mind, but then again, I may change yours. But what I'll say to everybody who listens to my videos, question your government. Question what's going on. Don't just accept everything at face value. Don't accept because you were raised a Democrat or Republican that that's what you have to be and you have to follow it completely. Question what those elected leaders are doing. And the other part of that is question yourself, where you are in your life, where you want to be, what goals you want to accomplish. And don't ever give up on accomplishing them. Well, that's it for tonight, but like I said, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you don't like it, then dislike and tell me why. All right, everybody have a good evening, and I will spend it watching the election results like I do every 4 years. Thanks.